Welcome to the Greenway with Mac, a channel that highlights the greenways of the world. In this video, I'm going to briefly introduce this trail and share the specific route I took as I connected to another greenway at the end. There will be more showing than telling, but I will chime in once in a while to provide tips for using the trail. Looping the loop is 54 miles, and this route is an abbreviated version that gets you back to downtown in about a quarter of that distance, but will require riding on the street a little bit. There is a better way to do it where you can remain on the trails a lot more, and I'll tell you about that once we get to that fork. The route started in the southwest part of town as part of the Huckleberry Loop. We continued east and a little bit south until we crossed under the 10 freeway. Then we made our way north until reconnecting with another off-street greenway, this one called Aviation Bikeway. The sections on the path were really nice and good for all ages of people who are confident crossing wide roads. The length of the greenway sections that you will see in this video is just under 4 miles. The follow-up section on the streets that connects to the Aviation Bikeway is another 3 miles. While I love the off-street greenways that allow people to walk and bike far away from vehicle traffic, I can't help but adore this greenway. This trail allows users to navigate their region without relying on a car. There are schools and other common destinations that are not far from this trail that provide users the freedom that comes with a car-free option. It is clear that Tucson is taking advantage of both types of greenways to provide a network. Unfortunately, Tucson is so spread out that this network needs to be significantly more complex to provide access to everyone. The Julian Wash Greenway is part of the longer network that is the Chuck Huckleberry Loop. I used a book about the loop by Rudolph Ford to learn about the network, which was really helpful. It will probably be a while before I get back to Tucson, so I'm going to send my copy to the first person that calls dibs on it in a comment on this video. I'll reply to your comment with instructions on how to receive my copy of the book. Something happened with the GoPro here and I missed a one-block section of the Greenway. Once the Greenway ends on this side of the street, you will see a place to cross over and continue riding on the dedicated bike trail. pay attention to the signs on this next section. We will be riding inside the waterway, and the trail can become flooded. I believe Derek mentioned that the trail can be impassable due to water even after a flood, so check the weather before and on the day of your ride to anticipate what the conditions may be like. I thought it was a fun experience to ride down here, imagining I was being chased by a semi-truck like in Terminator 2. Derek noticed that this area has changed since the last time he was down here. The path used to continue straight, and if you look closely, you can still see it. Now you are routed closer to Interstate 10, and it connects to the southern part of the Kino Sports Complex on this side of the highway. What I learned after our trip is that there are more sections of the Julian Wash Greenway that continue for another 12 miles down to the Houghton Greenway that runs along Houghton Road. While it was early April, it was already starting to get hot outside, so we were looking to make our way back to downtown at this point. We went back to the Tucson Diversion Channel Greenway and then cut through some neighborhoods to make our way to the Aviation Bikeway. If I could go back and redo this ride, I would make one little change. Instead of crossing the bridge, I would continue left to the Kino Sports Complex. The Kino Sports Complex on the north side of the highway has a disc golf course, a couple of baseball fields, and a bunch of soccer fields. The Greenway section that goes through the complex is technically part of the El Paso and Southwestern Greenway, and then turns into the Palo Verde Greenway on the park's eastern edge. The Palo Verde Greenway intersects with the Aviation Bikeway. That route keeps us off the roads and doesn't add too much distance to the overall route. Stay on the north side of Palo Verde Road in order to stay in the two-way bikeway. The follow-up to this video is the Aviation Bikeway, but we will join it at a spot a little bit further north than that intersection with the Palo Verde Greenway. Here we enter the neighborhood, and we will generally be making our way north to the Aviation Bikeway. The riding is either in the street, on the sidewalk, or in one section, a park. This will give you a little bit of an idea what it's like to bike in a more rural area of Tucson. There is not much infrastructure, but also not a lot of traffic. The streets can be pretty beat up, which may actually be a form of traffic calming. I made a mistake in this section and took us into the park. If you are actually recreating this route, then you should just continue straight where we were. And this is why this way is not ideal. It's fenced off here, so we had to backtrack a little bit and make our way back to the street. There wasn't much traffic here, so we took the lane. On the map, this center section is labeled green like a bike lane, so we rode in it. The surface was packed dirt and not what I was expecting when we got here, but it was still fun. We learned a lot from taking this route, so you can at least see what it is like out here.
Come
The sidewalk felt safer in this section since it looked like cars could be moving pretty fast on this road, and there was nowhere else for us to be safely separated. Take a left at this light and take the sidewalk up to the next light. This slip lane is not ideal, so be careful when crossing here. Use this crosswalk and then stay on the sidewalk up ahead. There is a bike lane over there, but that rail is keeping cars off the sidewalk and not out of the bike lane. So with vehicle traffic moving really fast on this road, I think it's a much better idea to be over here. It's not like a ton of people were walking along this section. crossed the Aviation Bikeway on that bridge, so we will make our way back to it. Cut through this parking lot and make your way back towards the Aviation Parkway and train tracks. The bikeway is parallel to those on this side of them. If you like what I'm doing, please subscribe to the channel so you don't miss the next great bike route. And here we are. Click the card at the end to see our ride back to downtown using the Aviation Bikeway. Thanks for coming along. I'll see you on the next Greenway.